Woohoo! Welcome everyone to another episode of A Drink with Brink, where I talk with other indie creators about their lives and the projects and the books, because people often invite me to their shows and I want to do something in return for this awesome community. So I put this trailer in front of here because usually I have my own Perfect 10 campaign trailer, but the campaign is over. So I have no trailer. So this is perfect for it. Let's see, we have a few guests. We have people in the chat. Mr. Pops, welcome, Pops. Welcome, sir. We have Hero Geek. Welcome, Ron. And Darkside is here. Welcome, Darkside. As you can tell, I'm a little bit nervous because my current guest is someone I admire. I'm a fan. He made this awesome comic. Check it out. Awesome. Only Death Can Save Us. It's a fantastic book. And he now has his second book. And I am so happy that he wanted to be on my little show to talk about it. So let's bring him on. Here is Russ Leach.
What a crowd.
Yeah, man, they love you.
Excellent. Thanks very much for having me on.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here, man. Oh, man. Calm down, Dave. Calm your nerves. Calm down. Okay. So how are you doing?
Yeah. Okay. Physically, I'm had some kind of tummy bug going around, so not the best. But yeah, I should feel better soon. I've got some vodka with me because I've run out of whiskey, unfortunately. Yeah, but not terrible. I should be back to training tomorrow. So
training.
Yeah, karate. Yeah, I did the black belt bit is real.
Oh, right. Of course. Yeah. I never thought about that. Yeah. So you do karate. So
yeah.
That's every week usually?
Yeah, or? Yeah, 3 times a week. Yeah. Do a little bit of teaching, a little bit of training. And
teaching too.
Yeah, I teach. Yeah, I've taught for some time now. So
wow. Yeah. Excellent. Well, the thing you're an artist, so your work is mostly sitting down and drawing. So
that's right. Yeah, so it's good to get up and train. Yeah, I try to get up and walk around every now and then during the day. I exercise first thing in the morning before I get going. Nothing radical, just some karate exercise, and then I train hard twice a week, and on a Monday I help out teaching. I don't do as much teaching as I used to because I let other people do that now.
All right.
And you don't get the same quality of training when you teach, unfortunately. And the organization I'm with now has a wide array of fantastic black belts, and they occasionally they ask me to jump in and teach, but on a Monday I do like a regular bit with the kids. So
all right. And Darkside, he does boxing.
boxing, but boxing is a mighty pugilist sport. It's an art in itself. Yes.
Awesome. So okay, so Russ, how did you get into making comics? You're making comics for a long time now.
Yeah, do you want the short answer or the long answer?
Well, we have an hour. So.
Okay, well, I've been in production, so design, advertising, marketing, ended up in programming and UI design, user interface design. I had my own business between 2000 and 2009. So I started off as a designer and an art director. I had a little bit of stint working in the city doing some stuff, but that was a long time ago. Anyway, along that way, mid 90s, I decided I'd have a crack at comics because I'd always loved comics. When I went to art college, my illustration teacher told me not to bother because I was rubbish. Right. So I took his advice and I went off to be a designer. But I couldn't kick it because I loved comics so much. So I did a few underground comics, got in touch with a few people. I think I spoke to Deadline, which was a comic at the time, very popular. And I eventually ended up with me doing submissions to Marvel. And back in the day, that was all snail mail. So it took a long time to get backwards and forwards. And they accepted me. The new talent manager there accepted me, said I was really good and would start circulating my stuff amongst the editors, but it didn't go anywhere. It didn't. And I had to get on and make money and pay the mortgage and look after the kids. So I carried on with my career in advertising and marketing and design and what have you. Became an art director and like I say, eventually had my own business doing travel industry stuff. I coded. I got into coding as well. I ended up coding the first online European product library for Sony. I did the RSPB library online, their image library. I did all kinds of stuff for larger companies as well. And then eventually went into travel and did UI design and stuff for online applications for them. And that all came to a natural end, shall we say, in 2009. And I looked around and thought, what am I going to do? I got involved in a couple of other projects, but nothing that was going to take me too long. And I thought, well, I should really go back and do what I love. So I thought I'd try and be an illustrator. And I started from there, really. Picked up little gigs here and there. Realized that quite quickly that I was quite naive when it came to submitting to publishers. Although I felt I had a huge amount of experience in production, that meant nothing in comics. So I started on some smaller books in the US. I got refused a couple of times from 2000 AD with some perfectly reasonable remarks about my work. I'd already got myself a digital tablet. I already had a Wacom because it was just part of my job. I'd kind of got it as part of the design.
Yeah, right.
So I already had that and was playing with that. So I ended up doing a few bits. I was very fortunate to end up working with Unstoppable Comics, which is JD Rosario. It was some great independent stuff, all superhero stuff. And this guy, I like to say this guy was doing diversity before Marvel thought it was a good idea. Do you know what I mean? He's like, he was doing proper comics. Diversity in the comics was because he just went out there and got the best people he could find for the price.
Right. Yeah, of course.
You know, and
natural diversity. Yeah,
exactly. It all came out as natural diversity, but the stories he was telling, he personally loves Captain America. He's Latino. But he did say, you know, like as a kid, he didn't see quite as much stuff that, you know, mirrored what he was. And so he went out looking for lots of different. So he ended up with all these characters that were anything from Mayan to British and Avalonian, like King Arthur stuff. So brilliant stuff. I got an opportunity to work with Brandon Easton, who's like a Disney and Marvel writer now, on something called Interceptor, which is kind of like a British Captain America with Avalonian stuff. So I suppose it's a bit like Captain Britain and Captain America all mixed up. And that was great fun, really good stuff. So I got my opportunities in lots of different places, did you know, standard illustration for agencies and what have you. More recently, I got involved in storyboarding for film and all different bits and pieces.
So what kind of films did you do storyboarding for?
I did a story filming. It's a film called Noontide, which is still in production, unfortunately, because of the whole coof thing. But I did the storyboarding for that, and it's kind of like a fantasy mythology love story kind of thing. So some of the storyboards are on my website, so people can go and check them out.
All right.
So I ended up after, if I flick back to sort of 2011, I realized that it was going to take a long time before I could start earning reasonable money. At the same time, I was working on a very cheap or a very low budget, should I say, production with a guy called Jason Quinn. And I ended up working with his brother, Tim Quinn, quite a lot. Tim Quinn used to edit X-Men, Hulk, Spider-Man, all kinds of stuff. His career kind of is incredible with the different things that he's done. So that was what was happening then, but I realized that I needed to kind of step up. I needed to get my practice in. I needed to do my 10,000 hours. So my wife and I spoke, and we sold up. I sold the house and got a much smaller house, and got rid of the mortgage effectively, so that I could take chances, so that I could take low paid jobs, so that I could risk certain things, because I knew that my bills weren't as high. And it worked because I managed to pick up more work. But more importantly, I was getting paid, even though very low rates, I was getting paid to learn effectively. So Jason Quinn was important because it ended up that he went off to Campfire Graphic Novels in India and came back in 2015, and they were doing a Doctor Who Adventures strip over in Panini. Panini are like the European, you must know Panini, they do the football cards and stuff, but they picked up all the Marvel work when Marvel UK ended in the UK.
Right.
And they used to do originally generated Marvel strips, but when Disney bought Marvel, they said no more of that. So they just reprint stuff from Marvel. But anyway, they got the Doctor Who gig. They do the Doctor Who magazine. And they asked me to draw on it, so that's what I did. And then they had a Ben 10 magazine for a year, which I did. But through that as well, Marvel, they would Hachette and Panini and Marvel were doing a sort of an homage, if you like, to the How to Draw the Marvel Way book. But it was done. It was every other week. There was an issue out, and Michael Collins, who is an excellent artist, been around for yonks. He's done things for like Superman, Batman, Legion of Superheroes, that kind of stuff. He's fantastic. He was doing the main tutorial, and then I did the tutorial to back that up, and a sort of a special sort of tips and tricks kind of spread. So I did that for 4 years. So that was 100 issues.
Wow.
Yeah, I went on for quite a while. So I did that with them, and then at the end of it, especially after the Ben 10 thing, it was like, well, the book stopped. There's no work, and so I kind of realized that, unlike in like marketing, design, advertising, all that kind of stuff, you weren't as good as your last job. You were only as good as the editor who knew you.
It's about connection, and
completely different kettle of fish. So I thought, well, seeing the way the tectonic plates are moving with comic books and the whole industry, which no matter what your opinions on it, you cannot doubt that the whole thing was in flux.
Mhm.
I realized that the only way to get anywhere was to do my own thing. So I wrote Only Death Could Save Us. I wrote another book first, and then I wrote this one. And then just as I was gearing up to do it, I was still doing the storyboarding, and I was doing some other work on artificial intelligence driven storytelling projects. And both those projects went through the floor because obviously there was nothing going on. The coup had stopped all that, and so I just used the opportunity to do Only Death Can Save Us, and it came out really well. So here I am. That's it. That's the long answer.
Thank you, Goof. Right?
Yeah, thank you, Goof.
Yeah. Oh,
And
awesome,
sorry,
man.
that's not to be glib about anybody who's had it hard with the Goof.
Of course not.
That's just that it gave me that opportunity, and I took it. And that's what you've got to do. If you have an opportunity in life, take it. So.
Well, I think you're not the only one. Many indie creators kind of took the shot when the opportunity rose to do crowdfunding, and sometimes they really had to. So let me see. Hero Geek says your art reminds me a lot of George Perez. Is he on influence? I also see some Jack Kirby.
That's incredibly humbled to hear you say that. Yeah, there probably is a bit of Perez in there. I tend to talk about, when I talk about influences, I tend to talk about John Buscema,
Right.
Steranko, Stalin, Kirby, and even then, those Kirby became an influence a lot later on in my life when I started to truly appreciate him. But I can also look back at books that I read by that had Perez in them. Also, Gene Colon and Remitter, and look at all those artists, and they had so that stretch between the 60s and the mid 80s are
Right.
basically where my inspirations are.
Yeah, but you said that when you started to send out you send out artwork to Marvel and other
submissions,
publishers. Submissions,
well,
that was the 90s, right?
Yes, and I was desperately trying to be Jim Lee, but of course the only person who could be Jim Lee is Jim Lee. He's the best Jim Lee there could be. So I was, and in fact I did an X-Men strip, and it was all sort of a bit Jim Lee-ish, and they loved it. They just went, this is great, and obviously part of that was because that was what they were looking for at the time. Everything needed to look that way. And although I do love Jim Lee's work, especially the work in the X-Men over the 90s, that's for me, that's the special stuff. There are aspects of his work that sneak in, little bits and pieces, because we're all a combination of the people that we love,
of course,
as far as artists are concerned. So little bits, David Finch. So I thought I saw David Finch. Some of the, lots of these things come into you, and you kind of see little bits, but it's whether it works for you. And the last thing you want to do is for people to think that all you're trying to do is copy another artist.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be yourself. I want people to say, that's a Russ Leach.
Yes.
I don't want people to say, is that Kirby? Oh no, it's just some terrible knockoff of Kirby. Or is that John Buscema? No, that's some terrible knockoff of John Buscema. And even the people that, and I've seen lots of people that reproduce like Buscema work superbly well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, those reproductions are wonderful, but that's not what I'm into. What I'm into is using these geniuses as inspiration, and then applying myself to that, so that people say, that's a Russ Leach.
Of course, yeah. Let me say hi to David Feed.
Hi, David.
Welcome, David. Excellent, man. So awesome. So where did the idea for Only Death Can Save Us come from?
I'd like to say that there's a bit of a business brain in there. I wanted to create something that was all ages, but at the same
Yep.
time was a bit funky and a bit dark. Um,
Right.
the stuff that I read as a kid, they didn't hold back. They had dastardly evil people in there and terrible projects that were going to ruin the universe. They didn't hold back. Also they didn't write down to you, so you had to go. There were words in the old. Stan Lee would write something and you'd read it in Thor, and you'd read the word and you think, what the hell is that word? And you'd have to go and look it up. Back when there was libraries.
Yeah.
And so I wanted some of that. I wanted that essence, but I also wanted something from a business perspective that was fairly recognizable.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted something that people could latch onto, like some kind of god character or something from mythology. But I didn't want to be too blatant about it either. And kind of Death came to me one night. He came to me one night while I was thinking about stories, and actually the essence for the story was where death would connect to a human soul and be affected by it, as in death is like an elemental, a bit like so a bit like Galactus in Marvel. He's like not evil or good, although he does err on the side of good, as it were, simply because that's the way the universe works. But he was kind of deferential. He didn't really get involved with the souls that passed through, as it were. And he met one soul that made him feel, and that was the core of the idea. That was the original core of the idea. But on layers on top of that, I also wanted cosmic. I wanted Stalin and Kirby. I wanted a vehicle where I could layer in all the crap that I'd been listening to on YouTube, and all the mumbo jumbo and quantum physics and multiple timelines and realities, and just layer it on and just enjoy it. So if you read into it, you can read all kinds of depth into the book, or you can just read it as some cosmic jaunt where big guys kick the crap out of each other, and that's it. That's I also wanted humor in it. There had to be some tongue in cheek.
Yes. Yeah. You did great, man, with death as the main character. So you want people to relate to death. And
I'm very much a believer that people should talk about death. I mean, this gets a bit deeper, but sure. I think people should talk about it more. We shouldn't be afraid of it. And that's not a religious thing coming through. That's just it's part of life, and you should accept it. It means that you can live. You can only live properly if you accept you're going to die someday. So that was kind of part of it. Chrissy's important, and Chrissy brings humor as well.
So it's not like this is like a coping mechanism for yourself because you fear death, and they thought, let's make some fun about it.
No, not at all. No, I don't have any issues with death.
Right. Okay, good. Let's bring up your campaign, man. By the way, these Marvel UK books, I sometimes see them online, and they look pretty interesting. But we had this little a publisher in the Netherlands called the Junior Press, right. And they translated Marvel comics and DC, but only American books, so nothing from the UK label, which is rather strange,
Yeah.
So
that may be locked into some kind of Panini deal. Who knows?
All right.
Yeah. But Panini are great to work with. I work with Jason a lot. I've been working with him recently as well, doing some mainstream stuff. So I mean that expression mainstream is a bit bizarre to me. I think it's just all comics.
It's more. It's more corporate.
Corporate comics. And again, I had this discussion with Pete Sametti during the week on Joe's show. Pete feels like it's all gone and there's no point, and it's move on. And I actually felt that way a couple of years ago. I kind of felt all the things that I loved, they're all changed so much, But I've kind of come to grips with it now and feel like, well, things do change. And that's what we're in. We're in this massive flux at the moment. And it's giving all us independents the opportunity to create the new technologies, like you're just showing here, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, getting on YouTube, being transparent with our potential audience, giving us that opportunity to get out there and have new heroes, new icons, new fun stuff to read.
Right.
But I think if you get the chance to do something with a character from the old days, there's a sort of the curator in me that would think, oh, it would be nice to see them do something, a little more along the lines of what I like. And pretty much what I think it was Hero Geek said, I love all ages stuff. So if ever I get an opportunity, no matter where the source, if like a corporate comics coming to me and saying we really want to do an all ages thing, then I'll do it, because I think it's hugely important to get comics into the hands of kids. It just is to me. That's where I learned to read. It's where I learned to take in, the kind of mind opening content that comics give you. I wouldn't have read Lord of the Rings, or
Right.
2001 if I hadn't have, picked up a comic. So it's hugely important to me. And my time on Doctor Who was underpinned with that, because all the writers on Doctor Who, in fact, Rick Hoskin, who writes with me on Only Death, he that's where I met him working on Doctor Who, and all of those stories were never written down to the kids market that we were going for. They were always taking the audience along. So very important.
Yeah, comics are educational. They can be, so for instance, I learned my English, not the speaking part, because I hardly need to speak English. So when I need to, it's clumsy, but writing, it's basically fluent.
And you don't notice it, that's for sure. Yeah,
and that's because I read comics from since I was 6, and usually English. So
yeah. I mean, and they have the older comics have a bit of a rhythm to them as well. There's something special about them. So I mean, I've got mine. I've got stuff sitting up here on the board.
Oh wait, let me.
Yeah, I've got like old Buscema pages up there.
Wow.
That I have sitting beside me, just for inspiration. Just because I love the stuff so much. But it's just great to flip through those old. If you can pick up any of the Essentials, Marvel Essentials books, they're superb. Something I did pick up the other day was a couple of Artisan books. Picked up a Remitter and a Kirby Artisan book. So they're kind of like they're just over A4. They're kind of like magazine size. But you get the chance to see the artwork really close up. It's really good.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, Only Death Can Save Us, Book 2, Techstone. Immediately after issue 1, we get into this one.
Yeah. There's no gap. Well, you'll find out when you read it. there is a potential gap that I can fill later on, and that was the idea. The other part of the concept was something that I could maybe take to any other IP as well, because they could walk through the multiverse. They could do whatever they wanted.
Right.
And as anybody who's seen the end of the last book, they're kind of a little lost at the end there. And there's a resolution to them being lost, but in between you could imagine anything going on. And then I also have a second arc, book 4, 5, and 6. And at the end of that arc, I'd imagine them doing something slightly different, and then effectively being able to open up the whole world into lots of different stories. So
yeah, you already talked a little bit about the concept and the story. So let me see. This is the cover for issue 2.
Yeah, it's a wraparound, so it goes halfway around the back, and then there's a strap on the back. Oh, you've got a copy there, you know. There's a strap on the back so I can get. Yes, that can happen. And what we can do is we can play with timelines as well, so you know you can go anywhere.
You're a geek, always trying to get crossovers done.
So it wraps around the back like 1.5 times around the back. It's
like
a
this.
play, yeah, exactly like that, and it's a play on that first cover, because the first cover obviously had the Horde, and this cover you can see the Horde has changed somewhat, and that's part of the story. So
more technical.
There's some cyborgian things going on, yeah.
Cyborgian.
And lots of Kirby crackle. You are correct, Darkseid.
Yeah, those influences. Great art, man. So you do the coloring also, or is that someone else?
This is Mike Summers for the cover colors. He's someone I've worked with quite a lot, actually, through Unstoppable Comics, I was talking about earlier, and he does some really nice stuff. But the internal colors I did myself. I wanted kind of like a retro feel to it, so it's effectively flats with shade and light, and then highlights, and that's it, nice and simple. Right. So this time round, I'm going to get. I just don't have the resources to do it all myself this time. So I've got Eric Weathers doing the lettering for me, and I've got a flatter doing the flats for me, and then I'll just attend those as required at the end.
Amazing, yeah. Awesome. So this is one page in pencil.
There's a page of pencils, yeah.
Look at this design, man. That's phenomenal. It's.
I tried to keep it simple. It's fun and chunky. I am aware of the 4 horsemen in that game. Is it Darkseid or something? I can't remember what it was. There was a game where the 4 horsemen were involved, and I didn't want it to look like that.
Darksiders?
Is it Darksiders? Yeah, Darksiders.
Yeah, it was, and they were designed by my Maduraira.
Right. Okay. They were a lot more techie looking. They had like lots of pads and bits and pieces, and I didn't want to go that way. I wanted to go sort of more. I was thinking more of a pantheon of the gods, like Thor and that kind of stuff. That's the kind of look I wanted to get. So,
yeah.
And yeah, the first Darksiders game was quite good. I haven't played the others because I'm old now and I don't play video games very much.
So you draw this traditional?
No, I draw the pencils digitally in Clip Studio, and then I print them out in Blue Line and I ink them. If you want to take a look, I can show you.
Yeah, sure.
Here's a page that's on the board right now. So you can see.
Wow, awesome.
Then I can see the blue lines in there. There's some Kirby crackle there. So,
wow.
Got one. Got a couple finished over here. And there's one actually there. There you go.
Look at that, man. That's phenomenal.
So that was the other thing that kind of happened to me, which was by accident. As I said, I had myself a Wacom screen, and I was using it for design. And then I ended up thinking, I can have a crack at this. I was always scared stiff of inking traditionally. It scared the living daylights out of me.
Scared of making mistakes.
Maybe
my entire page ruined.
Yeah, OCD probably. Yeah, but just scared stiff of it. And I ended up doing all my inks digitally. So everything I did for Doctor Who, for Ben 10, which is slightly different kettle of fish because of the way that it was designed, but also the stuff I did for Marvel, it was all digital. So I had nothing to sell, and that was something else I started to realize, is that it's really nice to have traditional artwork that you can sell on to people.
Right.
People like it. It's not just about how much money can I make. It's about sharing it out. People do really enjoy original artwork. So I started playing with brush pens. And I got myself a brush the other day. I got myself a sable brush, and I dipped it in ink and I played with it, and I thought, no, I'm not doing that. It's too scary.
Yeah.
But I do use brush pens. I've got some Pentel brush pens, lots of different ones actually. Here you go, some Pentel brush pens. Really like this one. It's a slightly thicker nib to it or end to it, and that they act like proper brushes, except for whatever reason, maybe the brush is too thin in my hand because I've got stubby fat fingers. I just find them easier to control, and so I started doing that. What I did was I did 5 or something pieces for the first campaign, so I was comfortable in my own skin as far as drawing digitally, but I knew that I really wanted to get some done, so I did some physically, and they sold, and I was really happy about it, and I got so into it that I just started doing everything traditionally. And then what happened was Arrow came to me, Arrow Comics, and said, look, we'd really like to serialize your first book, but the books are going to be 32 pages each, and of course it's only a 60-page story, so I had to come up with a couple of extra pages, which you'll be able to see in the second book, but also I did some backup stuff, and that's where I can't remember exactly what it's called. Tales from the Eternal Realms, I think that's what it's called. It's like where Kronos came from, and Rick and myself started creating this rich backdrop and lore to the whole universe and how it works. And that was the stuff that I was doing traditionally, and I was getting off on it so much that I thought, no, that's it. The next book, I'm going to do the whole lot traditionally. So that's how that came about. But the weird thing about it is that I got my style. I got my confidence in my own style. So not the actual pen on the paper or the pen on the screen or whatever, but the style itself I got from sort of like fast tracking myself through digital inking. So rather than being a traditional inker and going to digital inks for it to be quicker, I found myself being much quicker with digital inks simply because I was nervous of real inking. And I found my style eventually, although obviously it's always under construction, as it were. I found it and then started using the pens. And actually I've found now that I'm quicker traditionally than I am digitally. Okay. The only difference being is obviously if you fuck up, you fuck up. there's no control Z.
Does that happen?
Surprisingly, not as much as I thought I would. And I have to say, the whiteout pens you can get now, I've got Posca whiteout pens.
Yeah.
They are superb, and they help in a big way. And then on top of that, again, learning at pace. I spoke at length with Joe Fulton about this because he wanted the whole book, the whole Outliers books, to be traditional, and I did those traditionally. And he was basically saying, look, like if you look at all the comics you loved as a kid, do you think all of those were exactly the same when they got printed as they were when they left the artist's desk? No, they weren't. There were changes and amends and bits and pieces done in the ball pen or whatever, maybe some corrections. So it's like, it's okay if there are minor amends made digitally. You're still getting this very exclusive real world piece of art, even if some of it, minor bits, obviously we're not talking big bits. Big bits would need redrawing, but just minor bits here and there, little amends, they change when it goes to digital. And that made total sense to me, because you're getting something original and completely exclusive and exquisite. It is what it is, no matter what it ends up like, because all these pages get lettering put down on them and they get colors put on them. That's not what you're buying. You're buying those original inks. So I thought, yeah, okay. And he convinced me. And actually since then, because of the way that I do my pencils, I'm probably a little bit OCD with my pencils. That I've not had any trouble with the inking. So yeah, it's been an absolute delight. I've been in heaven for the last year and a half.
Oh, that's great to hear, man.
I'm thoroughly enjoying myself at the moment. I'm very tired because I've got too many jobs to do. But you can't complain. You can't.
Yeah,
complain.
You're doing this, and you're working with Joe.
Yeah, I mean, Joe's now. I've done the 48 pages for Joe, so I've got a cover to do for him and a couple other bits and pieces. I've got this on the board right now. I've done some Doctor Who stuff, and there's another project also that I've got to do. But that's it's all fine. I mean, what I've done is I've cut up the production into 3 parts because of the serialization that's going to happen after the book is produced. And that meant that I could schedule it correctly. And actually, I've got about a week or 2 extra in the schedule every 2 months, which gives me the opportunity to go and do something else while still remaining on time. And then on top of that, like I said, I've got somebody else to do the letters, Eric to do the letters, somebody else doing the flatting for me. So it's nowhere near as much work as there was in the first book, but you're getting more for your money this time. There's more pages and more content.
So how far into production of this book are you?
I would say about a third of the whole book.
All right.
Because I've got a whole bunch of coloured pages finished from the backup stories, and from the I've got the first half inked and all that kind of stuff. So it's going well. First stories, first third has been lettered now. So yeah, it's all on time.
So are you planning to finish it during the campaign, or
no, it won't be finished.
Some time after that.
It'll be finished sort of the end of the year, sometime. Yeah, I know, but it's not going. I'm not fulfilling until March, so it's there's plenty of time. It's not a problem, but it will be fulfilled in March, come hell or high water. It will go out on time because that's what I do.
Man, that's
you know, you have to do that. You know, not all of us are Bisley or Lee or Jim Starlin or whatever. Not all of us have got a great name. So you got to do the things that you can do really well. And what you can do is you can turn up on time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Dr. Aino is here. Sorry, I am late. No worries, man.
Hi, mate.
I'm glad you're here. Cool. So you have this project. You have the Outliers. Then you have to campaigning to do. So you have to do streams. So
it's full. It's tiring, but it's very rewarding. And also, like coming on with yourself, Dave, you get to speak to people. There's something when you're working at home, which most freelancers do, to be honest. You get cut off, and it's quite a lonely existence. I live for going and training because you complete when you're training karate, you completely forget everything else that you're doing, and you're just focused on the training. So it's not even like going to the gym, because you can think while you're at the gym. You're doing reps and your mind's going over. Or when you run. When you're doing karate, because you're focused on what you're doing, you're focused on the next move, or you're focused on who you're fighting, or whatever it might be, everything goes. So I get that freedom from it in karate. But still, during the day, it's nice to speak to other people. You don't get a water cooler environment. You know what I mean? You don't get a place to go and say hi to someone. So it's really good to be able to come on shows like this, or go onto Indie Vault, or come on with Joe and kind of speak to people, interact with people who either want to buy your stuff or just maybe interested in what you got to say, or have an opposing view, whatever it might be.
And you're able to do this when you have people close to you who are very supportive.
That's a given. My wife is incredibly supportive. She's effectively the motor. She makes sure that it happens.
Even moved to a smaller house.
Yeah, I mean, we moved out into the countryside and got ourselves a smaller place. And she works around the corner in a shop. I mean, she used to work for corporate finance for a large bank in the city before our kids were born. And so she's a clever lady, but she's quite happy just walking down the road and doing a part-time job in the shop now. So it wasn't just about me getting what I wanted out of the rest of my career.
Mhm.
After having several others, it was also standard of living.
Right.
How do you want to live? I mean, I'm not interested in iPhones and gadgets and stuff. Don't get me wrong; it's nice to have a games machine, and
Yeah.
but I'm not
You
really
need a
that
webcam,
interested.
but that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
webcam. Yeah, I'm not really that interested in that stuff. I
Mm.
love comics, and I'm totally immersed in that whole world now. And
Mm.
obviously we've not been able to go away because of the coof, but we get a holiday, we see each other quite a lot, which is wonderful. We're sort of our marriage is. I'm sorry, I'm doing maths. It's not that I don't remember when the marriage was. I'm just doing
Never
math.
do math
I never do math, especially when you're
on live
drinking
stream.
vodka.
Yeah.
It's 27 years, I think. So, we've been together a long time. So she's incredibly supportive, and even my kids are supportive of it. So, it's good stuff.
Yeah,
You need that. You need to have someone who understands that it's a passion.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You just need to do this, man.
Uh,
This is the
yeah.
page you just showed us in ink,
That's right.
right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the page I just showed you in pencils. Yeah.
Yeah. This layout is very nice.
So in the first book, there were a lot of 6 and 8 page, 6, 4, 6, some 8, and 9 panel layouts, but they were very square. They were
Yeah.
sort of Kirby, sort of late 60s, early 70s. So there's a little bit of a meta going on with the layouts and the presentation of the book. And so we're talking more sort of Stalin-esque, sort of early 80s kind of feel to the way that this is laid out.
Hmm. Look at this. This is a splash page.
Yeah, this is from the backup lore stuff. And that guy's called Kronos, and he's one of the first ones, and we refer to the first ones in the first book.
Yeah.
And they're the people, or they're the entities that effectively created the gods, but also Satana and the Supreme, who are
Right.
effectively the juxtapose forces of good and evil within our current version of the third age of this universe. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun stuff. It's just a bit bonkers and cosmic.
Yeah. So yeah, but you have to draw this guy multiple times. So look at all these details, man.
Yeah, but it's. I think what you do is it's not as detailed as it looks.
Hmm.
I think economy of line. People were talking about Jim Lee, and so many people get Jim Lee wrong. They look at Jim Lee and think, oh, it's just full of cross hatching and it's really immense and indents. And no,
Mhm.
all the lines that he put together were meant to be. He meant every one of those lines. Everything was usable. Nothing was filler. He
Right.
was he was as economical with his lines as Kirby or Buscema were. And that's what makes him a fantastic comic book artist, because he knows how to present that art without going over the top. I would say that maybe some of the more recent stuff is maybe a bit over the top, but even then, it really is. It's about being very decisive and focused about where you put your line work.
David Feet likes monsters,
Yum, monsters.
especially monster girls.
These are the flats from the backup story for War.
Right. Okay.
No, this is a bit of fun. The guy's in a bar fight. It's good fun. So there you go. That's all I'll say about that.
This is great, man. It's fantastic. So basically, you learned to do comics by just reading them.
Yeah. I didn't go to any. I didn't go to the Cubit school or anything like that. That's not to say that people out of the Cubit school aren't really good. There are occasionally really good ones, but the Cubit school doesn't make you a great comic book artist. It's inside you. That's what I think. So
yeah, you have to get it. Yeah,
you have to get it. Yeah, you have to get it exactly. And some of the people that come out of that school are tremendous, but it doesn't automatically mean you're going to be good at comic book art.
No. Sometimes I there have been instances that I hire this artist to do a comic for me, so I write the
Mm-hmm.
script and then get pages back, and it just doesn't work, you
Mm.
know. And usually these are um, artists that do pin-up material.
Yeah.
So they sell pin-ups, and it's
Mm-hmm.
completely different skill set.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. It's absolutely a different skill set. But it shouldn't be. Pin-ups should come out of the sequential art. It shouldn't be in place of.
Hmm.
Um, okay, if you get an Alex Ross, although I have to say Alex Ross is really good at strip work as well. But his work, if you put that on a cover or something, it is beautiful, and it has the essence of what's inside the book. But to actually tell a story and to tell it in an entertaining, visually entertaining way, so that you take people along with you. You should be able to. Comic book stories require, to be properly comic book stories. I don't like the silent ones. The occasional one is good. I mean, Steranko did one with Nick Fury, which was absolutely superb. But for me, I like to see some text. It's part of the whole experience of comic
Hmm.
books. But you should be able to tell the story without any text on the page. You should
Right.
be able to go through and kind of get the idea about what's going on with the story without any detail from reading speech bubbles or captions or whatever. And I think some people miss that. I mean, I've seen several comics recently. In fact, I saw a post on Facebook the other day, and it was quite a bombastic scene, as in the content of it was quite sort of guttural. There was fantastic element to it, but it was boring to look at. So it was drawn really well as well,
Hmm.
but it was just, there was no energy, none.
Okay.
So someone was like tearing off Iron Man's lower half. Obviously, they weren't Iron Men. They were like robots, whatever. Turning it around and using the boots to kill the other robots with, and
Hmm.
it was flat. I mean,
Yeah.
that content is like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
great,
that
great
can't go
action.
wrong.
Yeah,
That's
but no, it was just flat. It was boring, but it was drawn really well. It was very well rendered, but it's just boring. And that's where you can look at, you can look back to the Bronze Age. That's where I feel personally it kind of perfected that part of the art. That's not to say there hasn't been better since. That's not to say that there wasn't better before, but I just felt that they perfected that element of storytelling, the way that it flowed from one panel to the other. That it was quick, but at the same time, it filled you in with everything you needed to know. At least the great artists were doing that,
right.
and that's part of what drives me. I want to tell stories. I want other people to look at my art and think that is worth paying for. That's
Hmm.
part of wanting to be a comic book artist. I wanted to be in the bullpen when I was a kid. I wanted to draw with Stan Lee and John Buscema and
Right.
his
Yeah, yeah.
brothers, and I wanted to be. And the fact that it didn't exist didn't make any difference. That's what I wanted to do, and that's it. It's important. Part of that drive to be a comic book artist is to think my pages are worth being paid for.
Right.
They are of a standard, not just artistically, but from a draftsman perspective, from a storytelling perspective, that people would pay me to do it. That's part of the dream of being a comic book artist, not just laying anything down and hoping that it works.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Of course. Hex Allen is here.
Oh
Welcome.
yeah, Hex.
Welcome, man. So, do you find it more challenging to lay out the script that someone else wrote for you instead of your own? Because when you write, you already envision what it will look
Yeah.
like.
Well, it's different. I've drawn lots of different scripts. So anything from a script that tells you exactly everything from the camera angle to everything, which I do find restrictive,
Yeah.
because that's part of the skill of being a comic book artist, is to
Yep.
pick out those angles for yourself and pick the beats out of the story. But I've also, been given like this character does this on this page. Work it out. And
Okay.
so I don't mind as long as I know what I'm getting. From these two books are slightly different. In the first book, I wrote a complete script with panel breakdowns and everything because I had the idea for certain images in my mind. And then I got Rick, who came on late in the day. He went away and looked at the dialogue and made the dialogue work, and also came back with a couple of minor plot changes, just to make the thing work that little bit better, which he did a fantastic job with. But this next one, book 2, what I did was I said to him, look, I've got these beats that I want in the book. I've got these elements that I want in the book. And I want the arc to flow in this way. Do something with it. He went away, wrote the plot, came back, we were backward and forward, and then that was it. So I've got a 4 pages are to 2 pages. Say 2 pages are Death talking to the Supreme about a problem that's happening on Earth. Okay, and that's all he put in. Yeah,
right.
So he'd put that in and say, "Oh, I imagined this for the Supreme, but you're the artist, and I imagined this for the environment." But also at the same time, because I'm telling the story as well, I can kind of add in the bits that I want as I go along, and then I'll send.
You had the dialogue, right?
No dialogue, no dialogue.
Dialogue
A bit of dialogue, a little bit.
Okay.
And so between the two of us, we knew where the story was going. And so I drew the pages, and then I sent it all back to Rick, and he scripted the whole thing.
Wow.
And then we sent those pages with the script off to Eric, and Eric has now lettered. So we're in the first third. That's that first third lettered, done. But the whole thing, the whole plot is done, obviously. But I can amend it and adapt it as we go through. But like I say, we're both, Rick and I are both on the same page, so I know kind of what's coming. It's just a matter of making the story beats work and making each page an interesting flow, and putting as much energy into it as possible.
Right. Okay. Let me see. We have. All right. We have some stuff for returning backers.
Yeah. I've got a list. I have a list. I have a list of Preston Acevedo did a superb pin-up for me. And I will hint now that there is a pin-up by me with Doc Salem on that might turn up later on. I always like to give a little bit more than I put down on the page. And also ink spots. So this is actually my pencils from the cover of issue 2 of the Arrow Comics serialization of the first book.
Right.
And I did the inks and the colors on that, and that's done. The print files are gone, and I gave him the pencils and said, do something with this, and he did an absolutely fabulous job. So first 200 people to get that, and anybody who's coming back to back the book for a second time, no matter when they back it, they'll get the Preston Acevedo print. Obviously, awesome. I can't guarantee that if you're doing that after the campaign is finished, because I have to get things printed.
No, you have to be strict. You
have to be strict, but I'll do the best I can. So
yes, awesome. The perks. Tell us a little bit about the perks.
I've got I've got multiple perks. Probably the most important one, which is my the focused one at the top there, is you can get both books. So you can get book 1 and book 2, and you can get that for a good price. So if you're coming in and you've never read the first book, it's there. I've got 75 available. That's my featured perk. So
you have 75 available from book 1.
Yeah, from book 1. Yeah,
okay.
I overprinted, and so I was trying to look into the future, and hopefully I'd have some to sell in book 2. And that's what I did. So I've got 75 there available, and that's two books. So you've got 160, 170 pages, 170 pages of story in that. between the two books, and just over 200 pages of content.
Right.
And I think that comes out at about $50. So actually, if you compare that to 22-page, DC or Marvel floppies, you're getting a similar amount for for your money. So
yeah, those Marvel floppies are getting expensive.
Mm. Mm. So, but I mean, yeah, they are too expensive. But being able to match them as an independent, I think that's
that's
reasonable.
excellent.
Yeah,
Of course.
or you can just get the book on its own, of course.
Yeah, which everyone should, by the way.
And that's over 100 pages. There's 66 pages of story, over 40 pages of backup lore, and it's all scripted as well. It's not just like, oh, this character is this. There's a flow to it, which Rick has scripted for me, and then there's a 7-page war backup story, which is the bar fight.
Right.
So there's plenty of content in there. Keep you happy for a while.
Yeah, of course. Then you have the second book plus Arrow issue 1 signed.
That's right. So those Arrow, I've got a preview print run has been done. I think it's around 2,000 or 3,000 books, and I've got a set of them sent to me. So they're exclusive. They're a first print run. If they print any more, it's not going to be in that run. And also, the ones I've got are signed. So, but they're not. I think I ask for just around cover price for those.
Right. Awesome. All right. Book 2, Techstone plus the lore pinup set.
Yeah. So they're the 3 pinups. I think 2 of those images are from up here. Yeah.
Wait, these.
Yeah, those. They're from the lore elements, like the Eternal Realms stuff in the back of the book. And I just thought they were really bright and colourful, so I went for those.
Yep. So that's this one, the lore pinup set, and you can have this one with the cosmic.
Yeah, this is effectively some of the images I did for the Marvel book. How to draw the Marvel way. But I really love these inks. One of them is a Galactus ink. I love Galactus. So I thought that it might be nice if people had some of my older work, my archived work. So there's a few people who have taken that up. So
yeah, nice. And
all these things are add-ons as well, so you can buy one set and then add on the other set.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Save on posting.
Yeah, just 2 books. I did it last time. A couple of people did it. It just saves you on the postage, and I think you save a couple of bucks on the total price.
Of course, yeah. Plus sketch.
Yeah. So I'll do an A4, which is 210 by 297 millimeters, or 8.3 by 11.7 inches. Over in the UK, I don't know about the EU, but over in the UK, that's an A4 page, which is about magazine size. But I worked out last time that America doesn't know what A4 means, so everything's got the measurements.
Yeah, we have the same measurements here. So
right, okay.
And I'm getting this one, by the way.
So, oh yes, I did. I noticed. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Looking forward to that one. And then we have book 2 plus 1 original page.
Yeah, original page art. There's 70 of those that I'll make available. I doubt very much I'll sell 70 of them. But if people want them, you can have a single page plus the book for $175 plus the postage.
Okay, so how does it work? People get the preview and they can select which page they want.
Yeah, at the end of the whole thing, what I'll do is anybody who's got that perk, I'll get in touch with them and I'll give them a PDF or something of all the inked pages so they can choose what they want. And then it'll be first come, first serve. So whoever got in first will get the first opportunity.
Yep. So. And does that include the cover?
Oh, the cover's further down. There's some more
further down.
expensive one.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's actually a square. So there you go. This is the cover from the first issue of the Arrow Comics serialization. And so you get an Arrow signed, you get the art, and you get a book. So
awesome. And finally,
this is the cover. So it's square, so it's over 2 of those pages, but obviously only half of the vertical is filled in, because that's the way that the design works. But I'm going to keep it in separate in 2, so that it's better to send it in the post if people want it. I don't want to cut them up or anything, but you can do whatever you like with them at the other end.
I get it. Okay, awesome, man. All right, everyone. You have 66 backers now. Just checking. Maybe you have a little Brink bump. I'm not sure.
That would be lovely.
It has happened before, so you never know.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I've got another.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that! Thank you. Okay. Your
I'm
job
taking
is
credit
done
for that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've got another 28 days yet, and we'll see how I'm doing at the end of that, whether I do an extension or not.
Right.
So, but obviously, for it would be best if I can. I probably need to double what I've got down there. I know I had that target, but as I've said, totally transparent to everybody. I had a lower target than last time, because I did want to play with the algorithms on Indiegogo, because I wanted people that hadn't seen the first book to see it, and because we managed to do so well, thank you to Michael and everybody who helped, and all those backers, it managed to push it up to the top, so it's got more eyes on it, and that's the reason to do that. I probably need to do double what I've got currently, but it doesn't make any difference. The book is still getting made, so
I have complete faith that you'll make that, man.
I hope so. I mean, the first book didn't double that, but I think it was like 160%. So that would be more than fine to get the book rolling and still manage to pay for some of the art as well, because that's what happens in this. You know all about this. You're an old hand at this yourself. You pay other people, so I did pretty much the first book, apart from some help from the dialogue with Rick. I did the whole thing myself, but I can't do that this time around. I've got other work to do. I want to get it done on a particular time, because I'd really like to do more work, other projects early next year. There's other things that are mounting up, and it's also exciting. For instance, being on Joe's project has been an absolute blast. Love doing that. So you have to get other people in, and I'm using a flatter. I'm using Eric, obviously, for the lettering. Plus, I'm getting Matthew Seaborn in to do the inking for issues, which would end up being issues 4, 5, 6, but effectively the second half of the lore stuff. And he's doing a smashing job on that. He's doing an absolute smashing job on that. But all these things require payment. You can't expect people to wait until the money comes in. You've got to make sure they get paid.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's just not fair to do it any other way. But so that does mean that I'm not going to get as much of it this time. But that's fine, because what's happening is I've got a series of books out. I mean, the first book, I got 271 backers. I was like blown away with that. My eventual target, if possible, I'd love to get to 500 backers. Not necessarily with this campaign, just eventually. And we know the adage: if you can get 1,000 dedicated fans, you can live quite well. Thank you very much. I don't like the word fans. I'd prefer audience, compatriots in comics. People, customers if you like, but people who you're interacting with, those people that want your work because you're speaking to them.
Right.
Hopefully that's what's coming with this. So you can't see this as a sprint. We're all aware of several people, several individuals out there who can do no wrong on crowdfunding. You know, if nothing else, you look back at Lady Death and the, you know, the kind of response that gets, and you can't make that overnight.
No.
It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, you know, like it's a long distance run, and you've got to be in it. You've got to be in it to win it. You've got to be committed, and I am incredibly committed to comic books. I'm never going to do anything else, no matter what happens. Now, comic books is it,
Right?
and that's just that. I mean, the people that have backed me so far, it's humbling to have them back you, and it means that you can just create this more and more stuff, and you know, work with more and more other creatives, you know, to make even more and more wild, wacky stuff. Like I say, Joe's stuff is great, and he's got something else for me if I want it as well. So yeah, that's why I need other people to help.
Yeah, well, you have plenty to do, right?
Oh yeah, lots. Yeah, it's non-stop.
So, well, you're building your audience. You have a fantastic book. So I have no doubt that you'll make the same with this one. For everyone watching, I put the link to this campaign in the description. I also put your Twitter handle in the description. Russ, if people want to follow you.
I try to follow people back, but I'm an old man.
Much. Yeah.
But yeah, so be nice to me. I do try to follow people back. I Instagram as well. You can find me on Instagram. I do have an account on Minds, and I try to put stuff on there. But YouTube, you know, if people, you know, subscribe to me on YouTube, on a Monday night, I do art. And
all right, you have your YouTube channel.
Yeah, Comic Book Black Belt. You can go over and find me there doing art, and I do the talkie stuff with Joe Fulton in Fultonland. That's his channel, and we just talk comics. We just talk different bits and pieces. And you also see me over on Indie Vault as well. They're fantastic. I love Indie Vault.
Indie Vault, yeah.
They're indie. They're Indie Vault, and they love everybody. As long as it's a quality comic, they love it. So.
Exactly. All right, guys. Russ, I want to thank you for being here, for being my guest.
Thank you for having me on. Absolutely wonderful. Let me sit here and just chat myself to death.
You're doing great, man. And I want to say thanks to the chat, for everyone who showed up, for their comments and feedback. Thank you very much for backing. Please share. And if you like this video or the campaign, tell everyone, share it. And let's make this a huge success. Okay, guys.
And buy Perfect 10 when it comes out. Perfect 10.3. There will be a Perfect 10.3, won't there, Dave?
Yeah, there will be.
Yeah. Buy that, because that is awesome. I love that book.
Yeah. I have pages and I can't show people, man. That's frustrating. Okay. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up. But thanks a lot. See you next week with a new guest, and same time, same channel. See you then. Bye-bye.
Good week. Take care. Das vidania.